He had dated his stepbrother for 5 years. Caleb was young. He was reckless and loved to play games. Ethan tolerated it all. Then Caleb crossed a line with a new college student. Ethan went to clean up the mess. The trash can was a disaster. There were 7 used condoms inside. He cleaned the apartment. He sent the young man away. Then he booked a train ticket back to his hometown. Caleb partied for a month before he even noticed. He called Ethan late one night. He whined that he needed Ethan's homemade stew. He claimed he would die without it tonight. When Caleb finally found him, a pot was simmering on the stove. Ethan apologized calmly. The stew was for his younger brother. Caleb's eyes turned red. He asked how many other brothers Ethan had. It started with a call at 1 in the morning. A hurried voice asked if he was Caleb's brother. The young man was blunt. He explained Caleb had used him. They had agreed on $2,000. Now Caleb refused to pay. He suggested Ethan should pay for his brother. After a long silence, Ethan grabbed his jacket and left. He had tried to prepare himself, but his heart still dropped when he opened the door. The apartment showed traces of a frantic night. Torn clothes were scattered on the floor. The trash overflowed with tissues and other debris. He counted about 7 wrappers. They had made a real mess. A young man by the bed was slowly dressing. The bite marks on his neck were obvious. Ethan threw a stack of cash on the table. The man counted it carefully. He smiled, showing a single sharp canine tooth. He said okay and that he would leave now. Ethan looked at Caleb asleep on the bed. He smelled strongly of cheap whiskey. Ethan nudged his leg. He told him to wake up. Caleb opened his eyes. He stared for 2 seconds. He asked why Ethan was here. Ethan watched him for a long moment. He told Caleb that they were done. Caleb looked shocked. Then he laughed. He asked Ethan not to joke around. He wondered if he had not satisfied his brother. He suggested they could have some fun together. His relationship with Caleb was a complicated fate. 15 years ago, Caleb's father had an affair. Ethan's mother was the other woman. They both abandoned their families. They became a new, blended family. Ethan became Caleb's older stepbrother. Caleb was 12. Ethan was 14. Caleb was full of mischief. Ethan had a rebellious spirit. Each blamed the other for their broken homes. They tormented each other for 3 years. Then a car crash made them both orphans. No one wanted them. They were forced to become each other's only family. During the crash, Caleb had shielded him. Caleb, who had always hated him, protected him. Without him, a steel rod would have pierced Ethan's chest. It struck Caleb's arm instead. He had saved Ethan's life. After the funeral, Ethan gritted his teeth. He built a home for just the 2 of them. Caleb started calling him brother. It started outside the bedroom. Eventually, it moved inside the bedroom. They fell in love quietly. They never spoke about their relationship. Ethan paid for his education. He helped him build an online following. He became a moderately famous influencer. His fans all called Ethan his little assistant. But Caleb never publicly acknowledged him. The comments were full of fans shipping them. They said the 2 looked perfect together. They called the assistant handsome. Some said he resembled a young movie star. They imagined how powerful the 2 would be together. Caleb would always laugh it off. He told them not to play matchmaker. He would say that was just his brother. While packing, Ethan received a call from Caleb. Caleb asked where he was. He laughed. He spoke loudly to someone beside him. He told them he knew Ethan would be home cleaning. He described Ethan as boring, with no friends. He asked where else he could possibly go. He told them to pay up on their bet. Ethan listened in silence. Before Caleb hung up, Ethan asked a question. He asked when Caleb would be back for dinner. It was a final meal. After so many years, they deserved a clean break. Caleb sounded dismissive. He said he was busy. He reminded Ethan that they were breaking up. He said when he came home was none of Ethan's business. Ethan simply said that was fine. He did not really have much to pack. The apartment belonged to Caleb's father. It had nothing to do with him. He had few material desires. Most things he bought were for Caleb anyway. 2 suitcases held all of his belongings. He took one last look at the familiar room. He remembered their fight from the previous night. It was the worst one in years. Caleb had raised an eyebrow. He said he was just having fun. He asked why Ethan was making a scene. He accused Ethan of always using breakups to scare him. He asked if it was getting old. Caleb had reminded him they were brothers. They could have fun but nothing more. They could not get married or have kids. A dull ache spread through Ethan's chest. He turned off the light. He closed the door without looking back. At 9 that night, Caleb started his live stream. He was in a private room at a club. A line of young men sat beside him. It was a lineup of attractive faces. The camera scanned across them all. They were all young and handsome. Then the camera focused on Caleb's own striking face. He smiled. He asked his female fans to pick one. He said the rest would be his for the night. The comment section erupted with excitement. A fan wrote that she wanted all of them. Another said she liked the rebellious-looking one on the left. Others argued the one on the right was the real prize. Someone finally asked about Ethan. The fan said she still preferred the little assistant. Caleb saw the comment. His tone was casual. He said the assistant was having a tantrum. He was at home doing laundry and cooking. Someone urged him to go home and apologize. Caleb scoffed at the suggestion. He said Ethan was his brother, not his boyfriend. There was nothing to apologize for. His gaze fixed on the camera. Felt like he was looking directly at Ethan. He said some people forget their place. They act like a father instead of a brother. He said leaving him alone for a few days would fix it. He turned to the person next to him. He announced he would pay for everyone's fun. It was clear he was not coming home. It did not matter. Ethan was staying in a motel now. Caleb would not find him even if he went home. Holiday tickets were hard to get. He found one for 3 days later. With nothing to do, he went to a mall. It was a place he and Caleb used to visit. A watch sat in a window display. It was the third one on the left. He had wanted it for a long time. Back then, he and Caleb were poor. He saved every penny from his food budget. He used it to buy Caleb nutritional supplements. A watch costing thousands was an impossible dream, but he always paused to look at it. Caleb had noticed. His eyes had turned red. He gripped Ethan's hand tightly. He had promised to buy it for him one day. Ethan had smiled and said okay. Later, Caleb became famous. He earned plenty of money. He could afford the watch now, but he had long forgotten his promise. As Ethan was about to enter the store, he saw him. Caleb was there. A young man stood beside him. They wore matching white t-shirts. They looked like a couple. Caleb told the man to pick whatever he liked. He glanced at the display case. He stopped. He was looking at the watch. His expression was serious, almost lost in thought. He seemed to be remembering something. His features softened. The salesperson noticed his interest. She asked if he wanted a closer look. Caleb snapped out of his trance. He said no need, just wrap it up. The young man beside him brightened. He asked if it was a gift for him. Caleb started to say no. Then his gaze froze. He saw Ethan. He stared for 2 seconds. Then his lips curled into a confident, smug smirk. His expression seemed to ask a question. He seemed to say Ethan could not stay away. He was challenging him to admit he cared. Caleb smirked. He picked up the bag with the watch. He looked toward Ethan. But before he could speak, Ethan turned. He walked away without a word. In the reflective glass, he saw Caleb's stunned face. Caleb froze for a moment. His expression darkened. He shoved the watch into the other man's hands. He said it was a gift. The man thanked him excitedly. Ethan reached the escalator. He heard Caleb's indifferent voice. He told the man not to mention it. It was just a cheap watch. It was nothing valuable. Rain began to fall that night. Unable to sleep, Ethan borrowed an umbrella. He went to the corner store for a beer. On his way back, lightning lit up the night sky. It illuminated a dark alley. He saw someone huddled under an eave. The person was soaked and looked pitiful. Ethan was almost back at the motel. He hesitated, then turned back. He asked if the person needed help. The figure stiffly raised its head. A youthful face was streaked with rain. He looked about 17 or 18. His pale face reminded Ethan of Caleb. Caleb had looked that fragile at the accident scene. The rain poured harder. Ethan's heart softened. He brought the young man back to his room. He heard the sound of the shower. Ethan knocked on the bathroom door. He offered some of his old clothes. He said they might be a bit big. The door opened a crack. A slender wrist reached out. The young man thanked him quietly. He was indeed very thin. Ethan's t-shirt hung loosely on him. The pant legs had to be rolled up twice. The young man was quiet. He kept his eyes down. His movements were cautious and timid. He resembled a frightened rabbit. His name was Leo. He was an orphan. He was 20 but looked younger. He had been tricked into a pyramid scheme. He had just escaped the day before. He had nowhere to go. It was a sad story. Ethan did not press for details. He ordered them some late-night food. Leo stared at the food on the table. He swallowed hard but looked away. He did not eat until Ethan spoke. Ethan told him it was for him. Leo suddenly bowed deeply. The kid had some manners. He promised to work hard and repay the money. The overhead light cast a harsh glare on his hair. For a moment, he looked like a younger Caleb. A memory surfaced. A young Caleb promised to buy him that watch. He promised to make it big. He would provide Ethan with a good life. He had promised that he would only ever love his brother. He said he loved Ethan the most. The future is a cruel word. Ethan returned to the present. His tone was flat. He told Leo it was just one meal. Leo ate both portions of food quickly. He even drank a bowl of soup. He must have been starving. Ethan decided not to get another room. He told Leo it was time for bed. They shared the large bed. A wide space separated them. Leo could not sleep. Ethan gave him a spare phone. He scrolled through it quietly. He stopped on a live stream page. A familiar voice came from the phone. Caleb was answering questions about the assistant. He said they had a fight. The comments must have said something. Caleb scoffed. He offered to show them his home. He made a bet with his audience. He was sure the assistant was at home. He was probably making chicken stew for him. Ethan glanced at the screen. Caleb looked incredibly confident. He said the stew would be warm when he got there. The comments were full of envy. Someone wrote how loved Caleb must be. Another said the assistant clearly loved him. They thought his gaze was always full of affection. But someone else called the assistant a simp. Caleb had reason to be confident. He was usually right. Every time they fought, Ethan would make his favorite stew. He would keep it warm, waiting for his return. Ethan felt he owed Caleb. He was older. He felt responsible for him. He remembered the car crash. His mother had been driving. At the moment of impact, Caleb and his father had protected him. The feelings were complicated. He hated Caleb's father. He detested his affair with his mother. Yet he was grateful for his final act of protection. Those conflicting emotions had slowly turned into love. He snapped back to reality. Caleb was at the apartment door. A new assistant sniffed the air. He exclaimed that he smelled stew. He said Caleb was right. He was envious that someone was waiting for him. Caleb said nothing. He pointed the camera at the door. He could not suppress a slight smile. He opened the door. The apartment was completely dark. No one was home. Caleb froze for a few seconds. His expression soured. He suggested that maybe Ethan was asleep. He turned on the living room lights. He checked the bedroom and guest room. He even looked in the kitchen and bathroom. The entire apartment was empty. The place was clean but eerily quiet. The camera happened to catch the next-door neighbor. The neighbor was carrying a cup of instant noodles. It was chicken and mushroom flavor. The chat exploded. One person asked where the assistant was. Another joked that he had found a new love. The sudden reversal was hilarious. Everyone laughed at Caleb's confident prediction. The stew they smelled was just instant noodles. Caleb saw the comments. He bit his lip hard. A highlighted comment caught his eye. Claimed to have proof. The user said the assistant was just out buying beer. They had seen him at the corner store. They had a video on their profile. Ethan clicked on the user's profile. The IP address was from the same city. The new video was a secret recording of him. It showed him buying beer at the store. Leo gasped beside him. He said that was Ethan. Ethan confirmed it was. He never thought his life as an assistant would be newsworthy. Caleb obviously saw it too. A small smile returned to his face. He said nothing. He clearly believed Ethan was just downstairs. After all, Ethan loved him so much. He had always indulged him. In Caleb's mind, Ethan would never leave him. But Ethan did not return. Caleb ended his stream at midnight. His initial confidence had faded. His face was dark and grim. He had one day left before his trip home. He decided to visit a tattoo parlor. Leo followed him quietly. He asked if Ethan was getting a tattoo. Ethan looked at the falling leaves. Winter was coming soon. He was going to get one removed. He showed Leo the inside of his arm. It had the letters CY. There was also a portrait of a young boy's head. He had gotten it with Caleb. Caleb hated the ugly scar on his arm. So Ethan got a tattoo with him. Caleb had tattooed Ethan's name over his scar. The scar was from the accident. It was from when he saved Ethan's life. Even after all these years, he remembered it. He could still see the mangled flesh. Leo looked at it quietly. He asked if the removal would hurt. Ethan said it probably would. It was afternoon when he left the parlor. Leo was still wearing his t-shirt. His slender profile resembled a teenage Caleb. He remembered that day with Caleb. They had taken many photos of their matching tattoos. Caleb did not call him brother then. He always used his name. He had said their names were etched onto their skin. They could never be separated. He had pointed at the letters on Ethan's arm. He had smiled. He said his name was on Ethan's pulse. A breeze blew. Ethan looked at his arm. There was no design left. It was just red and swollen. Caleb was wrong. A lifetime is long. There are many ways to be separated. Leo seemed to have guessed their relationship. He enjoyed watching Caleb's streams. Caleb started his stream late that night. He looked terrible. He had dark circles under his eyes. He had not slept well. He was not his usual energetic self. He answered fans' questions distractedly. Ethan was not paying attention. He was reading a book. Suddenly, Caleb hissed in pain on the stream. Ethan instinctively looked up. Leo quickly showed him the screen. Caleb had burned himself making tea. Ethan looked away. It was one of Caleb's old tricks. Whenever they fought, he knew Ethan watched his stream. He would create a small accident, a burn from hot water, singeing his hair with a lighter. Within 10 minutes, Ethan would rush home. Caleb knew Ethan cared for him. That is why he was so fearless. The chat was full of longtime fans. They told everyone not to worry. It was an old trick. The assistant would be back in 10 minutes. They said the assistant loved him too much. But someone else was not so sure. They felt this time was different. Caleb watched the comments. He pressed his lips together. But his eyes were still full of confidence. He knew Ethan would return. This trick had never failed. 5 minutes passed. There was no sound at the door. 8 minutes passed. Caleb was clearly getting restless. The chat started to speculate. Maybe the assistant had really left. Someone remembered Caleb saying he was his brother. But they were not related by blood. No one is indispensable in this world. 2 more minutes passed silently. The door remained quiet. Caleb could not take it anymore. He looked at his new assistant. He asked if he wanted an apple. The assistant carefully studied his expression. He said yes. Caleb offered to peel it for him. Half a minute later, the new assistant screamed. There was blood. Caleb pressed a few tissues against the cut. His voice was steady. He said it was just bad luck. He had accidentally cut his hand. The chat exploded again. They recognized the familiar drama. They joked that the assistant's heart must be breaking. They said anyone who thought he had left was not a true fan. They knew how much he cared. They bet he was running home right now. One fan bet 10 bags of spicy chips. He said the assistant would be back in 5 minutes. Leo was watching intently. He quietly asked Ethan a question. He asked if he was really not going back. Ethan flipped a page in his book. He said no. His ticket was already booked. There was no reason to go back. By the time he got there, the wound would be healing. Leo pursed his lips. He said nothing more. This time, thousands of people watched the clock. 1 minute, 3 minutes. On the 5th minute, the doorbell rang. Caleb smirked. It was an expression of pure victory. He knew it. The assistant loved him too much. The chat celebrated his win. They told him to stop pretending. His smile was impossible to hide. The new assistant went to open the door. Caleb stopped him. He told him not to open it yet. He leaned back in his chair. He casually crossed his legs. He would make him wait a few minutes. The new assistant hesitated, then obeyed. The doorbell rang again and again. Finally, Caleb stood up. The camera followed him to the door. He opened it. He said Ethan's name, but he stopped short. It was not Ethan. It was an annoyed delivery guy. The chat went wild. People laughed at Caleb's repeated miscalculations. They wondered where he got his confidence from. They could not believe he thought a small injury would work. Others still held out hope. They believed the assistant was just teaching Caleb a lesson. Caleb returned with the takeout. His face was pale. He avoided looking at the scrolling comments. He did not want to see the mockery. He muttered that it was better this way. He said no one wanted him back anyway. He was free now without someone nagging him. But as he spoke, his eyelid twitched. It was his tell when he was lying. His train left at 7 in the morning. After some thought, Ethan bought a ticket for Leo. He took the quiet, pitiful boy with him. On the way to the station, Leo carried his luggage. He was still wearing the ill-fitting old clothes. Ethan told him he would buy him some new clothes. He would also get him a haircut. Leo just said thank you. He was very quiet. He did not have a reserved seat. He stood silently in the smoking area. His gaze followed the passing scenery. He was lost in his own thoughts. After 3 stops, his phone rang. It was Caleb. He did not answer. Caleb called again. The phone rang over and over. He would not give up. Ethan finally answered. The other end was silent. Ethan said he would hang up. Caleb finally spoke his name. His tone was the familiar, questioning one. He asked where Ethan had been. He said it had been 3 days. The joke should be over. His voice grew angrier. Ethan could picture him rubbing his temples. He said it was the ghost festival tonight. He told Ethan to come back early. Caleb was afraid of nothing except ghosts. Ethan remained silent. Caleb's patience wore out. He spoke with resentment. He said if Ethan was not back by 11, he should never come back. Then he hung up. Caleb still had not noticed that all of Ethan's things were gone. To be fair, he did not own much. The apartment still looked full without them. His hometown was a remote northern town. It was cold and dry, unlike the humid south. The autumn wind was sharp. Leo was not used to the climate. His face was red after a short walk. But he did not complain. He just followed quietly behind. Ethan asked if he was hungry. Before he could answer, his stomach rumbled. Ethan laughed. The area was remote with few shops. He saw a man selling roasted sweet potatoes. He bought one and split it with Leo. The warm, sweet potato was comforting in the cold. They had another bus and a shuttle to take. He asked Leo if he could handle it. They could stay the night if needed. Leo shook his head while eating. He said they should not waste money. By the time they reached the old house, it was evening. He had not been back in over a decade. The house was abandoned. The yard was overgrown with weeds. This was the home of his memories. His parents were still in love then. He used to run and play in this yard. Then, at 14, they divorced. A year later, his father left the country. He had a new wife and never returned. Leo's trembling voice pulled him from his thoughts. Before he could react, Leo jumped on him. His hands gripped Ethan's shoulders tightly. He was shaking. He stammered that there was a snake. A tiny grass snake slithered out of the weeds, quickly disappeared. Ethan was amused. He told Leo to get down. The snake was gone. Leo slowly climbed off him. He was probably scared. His face was flushed. His ears were red. He was still clutching Ethan's shirt. Clearing the old house would take days. They found a small motel in town. It had 2 beds. He gave Leo the one by the window. He should not have chosen the cheap place. Everything was broken. The window was smeared with dirt. It would not close properly. A cold draft seeped through the crack. Leo huddled under the covers. He did not say a word, but he was shivering. Ethan could not stand it. He was about to get another room. Leo stopped him. He said they needed money for the house. They should save where they can. He then asked a question carefully. He asked if he could share the bed with Ethan. He said it was too cold. Ethan was surprised but agreed. They were 2 men. It was no big deal. Leo quickly scrambled into his bed. The bed was not large. Their shoulders were nearly touching. Having another person did make it warmer. After 10 minutes, Leo was still awake. He asked if he could look at his phone. Ethan agreed. The first thing he opened was Caleb's stream. Caleb had just gone live. It was already 10:30 at night. It was the Ghost Festival. Caleb had all the lights on. His temporary assistant was not there. A comment said a doll behind him had moved. Caleb's face went pale instantly. He was terrified of ghosts. Another comment quickly debunked it. They told people not to scare him. They said he would cry. People asked if the assistant was back yet. They were sure he would return tonight. It was the ghost festival. He would not leave Caleb alone. The chat was chaotic, but Caleb ignored it. He only answered irrelevant comments. He connected with 2 fans. The first was a girl. She wanted to tell him a story. Caleb agreed distractedly. The girl told a story about a college dorm. A boy on the bottom bunk heard a voice every night. The voice would whisper to him. It asked to sleep back to back. The girl asked if Caleb knew why. Caleb looked uneasy. He leaned back in his chair. He said he did not know. The girl laughed. Her voice became high and shrill. She said there was a corpse under his bed. It was face down. They were sleeping back to back every night. Caleb did not say anything. He just quietly disconnected the call. He was pale with fright. His fans were no help. They started spamming the chat. They all wrote, "Let's sleep back to back." The red exclamation marks made it worse. Caleb's face grew whiter. He tried to act calm. He picked up his phone. He said he needed to make a call. A few seconds later, Ethan's phone rang. It was 3 minutes to 11. He did not answer. On screen, Caleb frowned. He dialed again. This time, Ethan rejected the call. The time was exactly 11. Caleb's pale face became even paler. He took a deep breath. He said he would connect with one more fan. He randomly selected someone. Ethan was bored and ready to sleep. But Leo gasped beside him. He looked over. Caleb had connected with Leo. Leo was panicking. He asked how to reject it. Ethan grabbed the phone. But in his haste, he hit accept. It all happened too fast. Before he could react, the image appeared on the stream. It showed him and Leo huddled in one bed. Caleb was stunned. The chat went silent for 2 seconds. Ethan quickly exited the call. But it was too late. Caleb stared at the screen. His eyes showed a mix of emotions. Disbelief, shock, anger. It shifted from confusion to devastation. The chat exploded. People were shocked. They saw the assistant with another man. It was a dramatic turn of events. They could not believe it. They wondered what had happened. One person said his new guy was cute, but they still thought Caleb was more handsome. They asked where the confident fans were now. The last few seconds of the stream showed Caleb's eyes. They were red, holding back tears. He quickly ended the broadcast. The next second, Ethan's phone rang. He rejected the call. Caleb called again. He blocked the number. Caleb used a different number. Finally, he turned off his phone. The world was quiet. Leo was in shock. He looked down guiltily. He apologized for causing trouble. Ethan told him it was not his fault. He pulled the blanket up for him. He told him to go to sleep. He did not sleep well that night. He dreamed of Caleb. He dreamed of a teenage Caleb. He was thin back then. He loved wearing white t-shirts. He was handsome and arrogant. He was very attached to Ethan. He was cold to everyone at school. He was only close to Ethan. If anyone talked to Ethan for too long, he would want to fight them. His possessiveness was terrifying. He used to say Ethan was his. He could only be his. He was not allowed to look at anyone else. They would argue sometimes, but Caleb would always be the one to cry. He looked tough, but he was afraid of the dark. He was afraid of ghosts. He was a crybaby. He had pleaded with Ethan not to leave him. He said Ethan was all he had. Caleb's mother had died of illness a year after the divorce. Ethan was his only family. That was why he had tolerated so much. He put up with Caleb's games and his selfishness. But Caleb never considered something. Ethan was his only family too. He never thought about how Ethan survived those nights, how he coped with the hurt he caused. In the dream, the teenage Caleb waved goodbye. Then the image shifted. He saw an adult Caleb. He was lying on a hotel bed. drunk. There were fresh love bites on his skin. He looked at Ethan with a playful smile. He had suggested they have some fun together. His chest felt tight. He woke up. It was just a dream. Leo was asleep. He was a restless sleeper. He had curled up against Ethan. His arm was wrapped tightly around him. It was resting on his chest. For the next 3 days, Caleb tried to contact him. He used every method imaginable. Phone calls, texts, social media messages. He asked where Ethan was. He asked who the other man was. He promised to stop playing around if Ethan came back. He begged him to return. He asked if Ethan was really cutting ties. He said he did not agree. He accused Ethan of trying to make him jealous. He called the other man a bad actor. He pleaded with Ethan to come home. He said he was scared to sleep alone. He said they could not be separated. Their names were tattooed in their flesh. His messages went from angry to pleading. Ethan did not reply to a single one. His mother used to call him stubborn. He was quiet, but he had a strong will. Once he made a decision, he would not change it. Tolerating Caleb had been his decision. Leaving him was his decision now. The old house was remote and quiet. His best feature was a large yard. Leo looked delicate, but he was a hard worker. The temperature varied greatly. It was cold in the mornings and evenings. He would bundle up and work alongside Ethan. At noon, the sun was strong. He would quietly pull weeds. After a few days, the house was tidy. There were 3 rooms. He and Leo each took one. The third would be a studio. He wanted to do live streams. He had learned a lot from his years with Caleb. He planned to film videos while renovating the yard. Caleb had been quiet for a few days. He had stopped bombarding his accounts. He had not found his new phone number. Leo said Caleb had not streamed in days. He quietly asked if Ethan should check on him. He worried something had happened. Ethan said no. He knew Caleb. He would not do anything stupid. The fool was too scared. This morning, Leo woke up early. There were 2 bowls of hand-pulled noodles on the table. He asked if Leo made them. Leo nodded. He told Ethan to try them. They were delicious. Leo was very quiet today. He ate his noodles silently. He seemed to have something on his mind. Ethan suddenly remembered something. He asked if it was Leo's birthday. Leo paused, then nodded slowly. Ethan asked why he had not said so earlier. He grabbed his jacket and rushed out. When he returned, he was holding a cake. He called out for Leo. The yard was empty. He searched the house. He found him under an old elm tree behind the house. He was asleep. He had been working hard lately. Ethan squatted down. He lifted Leo onto his back. He carried him to his room. As he laid him on the bed, Leo grabbed his shirt. He whispered Ethan's name. It was a soft sound. It was different from Caleb. Caleb always shouted his name. He was possessive and spoiled. When Leo woke up, they ate the cake. Ethan told him to make a wish. Leo hesitated, then complied. He closed his eyes and made a silent wish. Ethan sang him the birthday song. They blew out the candles. He cut a piece of cake for Leo. He ate it in small, slow bites. Ethan asked if it was good. Leo looked up at him. His eyes were moist. He looked like a small puppy. He was much more obedient than Caleb. Ethan cut him another piece. He told him to eat more. He said he would make him stew tomorrow. He said his stew was the best. Leo swallowed a mouthful of cream. He said okay. His first video on his new account went viral. It was about renovating the yard. It got hundreds of thousands of views. Many people recognized him. They were shocked to see him with a new account. They said Caleb had not streamed for a week. They accused him of starting a new life with another man. They asked why he left after so many years. They called it a sudden breakup. Or perhaps he had cheated. They assumed he had a new lover. They told Caleb not to cry. They said he would come crawling back one day. They called him a cheater. They said he should be punished. Leo was angry. He used his own account to defend Ethan. But no one listened. They insulted him too. They called him a pathetic follower. They said his master was too scared to respond. Ethan was not bothered. He told Leo to ignore them. He was used to online criticism. In the afternoon, a new comment was upvoted. It was from Caleb. He asked if this was their future home. Thousands of replies followed. It was the first time Caleb had indirectly acknowledged their relationship. But it was too late. Today, he went to town to buy a chicken. He was going to make soup for Leo. He was too thin. He needed to be nourished. Leo felt guilty. He felt like a burden. But he ate little and worked hard. He was a great help. And Ethan was grateful for him. Ending a decade-long relationship was like tearing out a part of himself. It would have been too lonely to face it alone. Having company made it bearable. The soup was simmering. Leo was helping a neighbor with her fence. Ethan was building a small fish pond. Leo liked fish. He planned to get him some koi. The gate creaked open. He thought it was Leo, but a voice behind him spoke. It was Caleb. He called him brother. Ethan's hands froze. Caleb walked up to him. He grabbed his wrist. He asked why he had left without a word. He demanded to know why he had been abandoned. He screamed, his eyes red. Ethan was silent for a few seconds. Then he pushed his hand away. He reminded Caleb what he had said that night. Caleb insisted it was just angry words. He was uncharacteristically distraught. He admitted he had played around before. He reminded Ethan that he had always forgiven him. He asked why this time was different. He asked if Ethan hated the new guy. He started to choke up. He admitted he should not have let the guy bother him. He looked at Ethan quietly. He watched him scream and break down. In the past, he would have felt sorry for him. He would have relented. But now he just watched. Caleb noticed the change. He looked at Ethan helplessly. He tried to take his hand, but Ethan moved away. Caleb's voice was strained. He pleaded with him not to look at him like that. He said he was scared. He promised to quit the internet. He would give up his online persona. He said they could go back to how they were. He admitted he was a mess. He said he had hurt Ethan. He promised to change everything. Caleb started to cry, but Ethan did not wipe his tears. He just said calmly that Caleb should go back. Caleb asked where he could go. Ethan looked at him silently. He told him to go back to his own home. A voice from behind interrupted. It was Leo. He said this was their home. Caleb turned. The moment he saw Leo, his face darkened. He asked why Leo was there. He looked from Leo to Ethan. He seemed to understand. He accused Ethan of cheating. He demanded to know what made Leo better than him. Ethan's head throbbed. He had no energy to argue. He told Caleb to get out. Caleb was stunned. He tried to approach again, but Leo blocked him. He told Caleb that his brother had told him to leave. Caleb wanted to fight, but his eyes fell on Ethan's arm. He froze. The spot where his name was tattooed was empty. His voice was tight. He asked if the tattoo was gone. All the fight seemed to leave him. He looked lost. Leo pushed him out of the yard. Caleb rented the house next door. He moved in. He was a different person overnight. The arrogant, reckless boy was gone. He was quiet and withdrawn. He never entered their yard. He would just stand at the gate. He would watch Ethan and Leo. Whenever their eyes met, his face would light up. But Ethan would always look away before he could speak. Ethan made more chicken soup for Leo. The aroma drifted out of the yard. Caleb stood at the gate. He watched Ethan serve soup for Leo. His eyes were red. He called out to Ethan. His voice was hoarse. He asked for a bowl of soup. He said he had not eaten all morning. He begged pitifully, but Ethan refused. He said no. Caleb said nothing more. He watched Leo drink the soup. Leo was well behaved. He finished the bowl Ethan gave him. He wiped his mouth and smiled. He said it was delicious. Caleb's hands clenched into tight fists. They were white from the pressure. Caleb was at the gate early in the morning. When Ethan came out, he stepped forward. He gripped the iron bars. He asked Ethan to eat cake with him. He said it was his birthday. Ethan said no. Caleb's smile froze. He tried again. He asked if Ethan would make a wish with him. He just wanted 1 minute of his time. Ethan had never seen him so cautious. He remembered the young Caleb. He was defiant and malicious. Later, he was spoiled and fearless. Now he was begging in a small voice. Ethan looked into his hopeful eyes. He told him it was a waste of effort to say goodbye. He told him to leave. He reminded Caleb that he knew him. He did not make decisions lightly. When he left, he meant it. He would not go back. He told him to leave. He said they should pretend they never knew each other. Caleb's face was pale. His lips trembled. After a long moment, he nodded. His voice was defeated and hoarse. He said he understood. He asked if Ethan could at least wish him a happy birthday. He forced a smile. He held back tears as he looked at Ethan. For 2 long minutes, Ethan said nothing. Caleb understood. He nodded stiffly. He told Ethan to take care of himself. Then he slowly walked back to the house next door. He blew out his own candles. The yard was silent except for the wind. Half a minute later, the wind carried a sound. It was Caleb's soft, tearful voice. He was singing happy birthday to himself. Caleb left. Ethan never saw him again. His live stream was on indefinite hiatus. Many of his fans came to Ethan's videos. They asked about Caleb. Many of them insulted Ethan, but he did not care. He had endured much worse over the years. And thanks to them, his videos were gaining popularity. His new life was going better than expected. A private account always commented on his videos. It had a black profile picture and a blank name. The comments were simple. They would say the weather looked nice, or that the koi were swimming happily, or that Ethan seemed to have gained some weight. Every video had a comment. He never said who he was, but Ethan knew it was Caleb. He never replied. On his birthday, Leo sang to him. He received a call from an unknown number. He answered. The other end was silent. He could only hear breathing. After 5 seconds, he hung up. Caleb did not call back. He blew out the candles. He made a wish for the new year. He wished for happiness. He wished they would never meet again. Leo's story. My name is Leo. A fortune teller once said I was cursed. He said I was destined to be alone. He said I was born bad. I stomped on his sign. He was a liar. But later I started to believe him. My mother died when I was 5. Then my father died too. I became an orphan. I was in foster care. I was adopted and abandoned. I grew up. My only friend tricked me into a pyramid scheme. I was lucky to escape, but I had no money. I was abused there. I ran into an alley during a storm. I had nowhere to go. I huddled under an eave, waiting to die. But I did not die. Someone found me. The thunder was loud. I looked up. I saw a kind face. He held an umbrella. He was like a savior from a movie. I recognized him. His name was Ethan. He was the assistant of the influencer Caleb. Before I was tricked, I worked hard every day. My only joy was watching Caleb's streams at night. I did not like Caleb. I liked his assistant. Ethan took me back to his motel. He gave me his old clothes. They were not old at all. They were clean. They were just too big for me. He ordered food for me. 2 portions. Smelled so good. I had not eaten properly in days. He and Caleb seemed to have broken up. I quietly thought that was good. The next day, I went with him to remove his tattoo. The mark of his love was gone. That was good. That was very good. Ethan brought me back to his hometown. The yard was overgrown with weeds. It looked desolate, but that was okay. It would soon be full of life. I saw a small snake in the grass. I screamed and jumped on him. He caught me steadily. I was such a jerk. I was not afraid of snakes at all. I had roasted them as a stray kid. But his body was so warm. His shoulders were broad and strong. He smelled like clean laundry. My face was hot. My ears were burning. That night, I suggested a cheap motel. I said we should save money. The window was drafty. I shivered. I asked if I could share his bed. He agreed. He was so warm. It was so comfortable to hold him. It was the most peaceful night of sleep I ever had. He was looking thin lately, so I woke up early to make noodles. I was a bit dazed from waking up so early. He thought it was my birthday. I was stunned, but I did not correct him. My birthday is in the winter. I hate it. No one has ever celebrated it with me. So I decided my birthday was today. I liked today. He ran out and bought me a cake. It was my first birthday. The cake was disgusting. It was way too sweet. But he cut me a second piece. I forced myself to eat it. I could not waste my first birthday cake. Later, Caleb found us. I was terrified when I saw him. My heart was in my throat. I was afraid Ethan would go back to him. I was afraid I would be abandoned again. Luckily, Ethan did not go back. Caleb stood there, broken and lost, especially when he saw the tattoo was gone. His eyes were full of despair. He looked like a lost puppy, but he deserved it. People who do not cherish love deserve to suffer. He was not good enough for Ethan. Finally, he left. He never appeared again. That was good. I spent my days with Ethan. I helped him film videos. We grew flowers and vegetables. I watched the koi he raised for me get bigger. Life was simple and happy. Ethan did not know my feelings for him. That was okay. I would wait until he was ready. On Ethan's birthday, he closed his eyes to make a wish. I watched him quietly. I made a silent wish of my own. I wished that I could stay with him for a little longer, and a little longer after that.